Alright, in today's Elona tutorial, we need to talk about paying bills. So after you've leveled up a few times, to be specific, once you've gotten to level 6, you're gonna have to start paying bills. You'll see this message come up in your message log on the first day of every month. As a salary, such and such gold pieces and items have been sent to your house, and a bill has been sent to your house. Now you need to pay these bills every month. If you fail to do so, then all kinds of bad things will happen. You will lose karma, the bills will increase. Losing karma means eventually the guards will start attacking you in town. Just all kinds of other inconvenient things that you don't want happening. Looks like Etherwind just started, so I'll be back to the bills in a second. So you might have been noticing that twice a month you get a salary and you get items. These are delivered directly to your salary chest in your house. Hit O to open that up, and what you see right here is an accumulation of several months worth of salaries for my character. You get a very wide variety of items delivered to you. Spellbooks, food, all kinds of things really. Bronze coins are another kind of currency newly added to Elona Plus. I'll get into what they do shortly. Then you also get this item called a bill. It's not enough to just have that money automatically deducted from your amount of gold. You have to physically pay the bill. It is an actual act that you're going to go through. And I mentioned in a previous video that buildings like the museum and the shop have their upkeep costs. Those are delivered to your bill every month. So if you have a big house and lots of buildings to keep up, then your bill every month will be higher. But if those buildings are generating a profit for you, then the amount of gold that's delivered to your salary chest every month will also be higher. The key in playing this game in the long term is to earn a high enough salary that it cancels out your bill each month. And of course, you know, that can be supplemented by other things like doing quests and trading across cities. So let's take this bill, I'll show you how to pay it. You have to leave your home, travel some distance across the world here, and just to the north of Palmia here, there is the embassy. And you walk into this place, and directly in front of you will be the tax box. You have to open the tax box, put the bill inside, and then that amount of gold will be deducted from your current held gold. Now this is kind of a pain, and it is easy to forget about it. It's easy to end up late on your taxes. But I'm going to show you something you can do to make that a little easier. Stock up on traveler's food, because we're going to have to go into the snowy part of the country in the east. Now, a bit to the south of Noyle up there, you'll see this really small little hut down by the water. This is Miral and Garok's workshop. There's a couple of dwarves who live here who can do some really useful things for you. One very useful thing they can do is upgrade your cart. If you give them bronze coins, starting with just one, they will increase your cargo carrying capacity. This makes it so much easier to do trading in the long run. If you're able to carry more cargo, then obviously you're able to make a much higher profit on every trip that you make. But you can also trade them small metals. And you can get a very wide variety of very useful, rare items here. For 5 coins you can get a bill. Now if you ever lose the bill that you get in your salary chest in any given month, you can get a new one for several small metals here. You're gonna need to do this, because if you lose that bill for any reason, the game doesn't care. You still need to pay that bill. And for as long as you don't, your karma is going to decrease, and it's just going to get more and more expensive. So you really need to get 5 small metals, and take them here as quickly as you can, to get that bill replaced. Now if I remember right, there is some small mercy in the fact that if you buy the bill this way, the bill will be for 0 gold pieces. So that is at least good. But it's still arguably worse because small metals are a lot harder to come by than gold. Another really cool thing you can buy here is a tax master's tax box. This lets you actually have a tax box like they have in the embassy, and just put it anywhere you like. Specifically, you can put it in your house. That way, you could just plop it down right next to your salary chest, Then as soon as you pick up your bill, you can drop it into the tax box right next to it, and your bill is paid. It's super convenient. Now you might be wondering what small metals are. On my character right here, I don't even have any small metals at the moment. Well, there's a small handful of ways to get these. Sometimes they're just hidden around town maps in like fixed locations. If you walk behind a tree or something and you see this message that says twinkle, try and press the grab button. Never mind, I just picked up snow. I think you have to search the location. Try and press S. Yep, you press S and you will find a small metal. I'll drop it next to the tree so you'll see, if you ever see one on the ground, it looks like that. They're hidden in some clever places in pretty much every town. You'll want to walk in like little hidden locations like behind trees. And if you ever see that twinkle message, that means you just passed over a place where you can find a small metal. Now those small metals that you find in the towns are going to be fixed. They don't respawn, they only show up once in your entire game. So a more reliable way to get small metals is by clearing dungeons. You see these random dungeons like these two that pop up on your world map from month to month. If you get to the end of those, and you beat the random boss monster that appears on the final floor, you are guaranteed to at least get like 1 or 2 small metals for that. These trees right here are also randomly generated dungeons. So it's a good idea when you're strong enough to just clear those out periodically, start stockpiling some small metals, because they come in very handy. Alright, now this is somewhat unrelated, but I couldn't think of a better time to talk about this. I'd like to shift the focus of the video to now talk about gods. When you start the game, you will not have any actual god assigned to your character. But it's a good idea to align yourself with one, because it can offer you a variety of benefits throughout the game. To get started worshipping a god, head north approximately from where Palmia is, and you will come to this little structure right here. This is called the Truth ground. And in this area, you find 8 altars. These all correspond to the different gods that exist in the game. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about the differences between every single god, but they all offer different benefits and have different things that they like you to do for them. The tutorial character I made does not worship any god yet, and in fact, look, this is his first time at the Truth ground and he hasn't even explored the area. By default, your character sheet will say that your god is 8th of Infidel, but if this god actually exists in the game, it's just kind of a default, totally non-beneficial god that really does nothing. It might as well be nothing. The ones with altars at the Truth ground, those are the ones that actually help you. So let's say, for example, my character wants to worship its Spalt of Element, just for whatever reason. You walk over the altar, and you hit P, and it'll give you a little description of the god and what they do. So let's have him say, believe in its Spalt. This little light will come down, and now he is worshipping this god. Now once you've chosen a god, you will want to gain favor with them. Pretty much any of them will accept corpses as an offering. To offer things to your god, you have to step over their altar, usually at the Truth ground, but you can find other altars in various places and convert them to your god by making offerings at them. So you hit capital O to make an offering. And its belt likes rods. I don't have any corpses on me, but I can offer a rod. And that will sacrifice the item, it'll disappear, and that makes you gain favor with your god. Now in Elona Plus, once you start worshipping a god, they will drop this item on the altar called a 9 god sign. Hit T and use that, and it'll tell you how much piety you have. Piety is basically the amount of favor that you have with your god. So each time I offer a wooden rod, I gain 25 favor. Your maximum favor is determined by various things, especially your faith skill. And there's a handful of ways to increase this skill outside of leveling up. You can find Scrolls of Faith, or in Elona Plus, you can hit A, tab over to Wyatt skills. And you know, if your faith is high enough to begin with, then you would have a skill called Preaching. It's kind of similar to performing, it's something that you do in public. People might give you money for it, and people might convert to your god, and it increases your faith. So like I said, you can offer corpses to your god. And one thing that makes this a lot easier is an item called the Cooler Box. You get this as a reward for completing one of the first quests that you'll find in Vernus. There'll be somebody in town who asks you to go into the puppy cave and escort her lost puppy outside and return it to her. As a reward, you get the Cooler Box. This thing can hold 4 items inside of it. I believe it can only hold food items, but you can put things in here and whatever you put in here will never rot. Makes it so much easier to transport corpses. Now, corpses are not the most rewarding thing to offer to your god. They really only increase your favor by about 1 or 2 most of the time, but that's going to depend on the corpse's weight. The corpse can be rotten or cooked. Of course, if it is cooked, it's always going to weigh half a stone. All cooked food has the same weight. But your god's favored items, on the other hand, if you offer one of those, they will always get you 25 favor, which is usually a much more worthwhile use of your time. Now, the big reasons you're going to want to increase your favor with your god are the rewards they're going to give you. Once you have 1525 favor, then you can pray to your god. That is, you'll press the P key. You can do this anywhere, really. If your favor is high enough, your god will grant you a pet. My fairy wizard worships Lulwi, and so he got this black angel as a reward. Now you might have noticed on my tutorial character his maximum piety was only 400. That's because his faith skill wasn't high enough to even be eligible for that first reward. So you need to have a pretty high faith skill before you can really even get anything worthwhile out of worshipping your god. The second tier is at 2525 faith, or favor. That would be 25 faith that you need to get that. And that will reward you with some kind of special item. In this case, Lulwi's Gemstone of Godspeed. The third reward you need 40 faith to receive, and that'll usually be a weapon, which my character also has. That would be the Wind Bow, which is pretty crazy in a lot of ways. Pretty powerful. I recently did some reading on the wiki that led me to believe that praying to your god would give you permanent stat increases, like permanently increasing your speed for Lulwi and such things. So I'm doing a little experimenting to figure that out. Alright, so here's my fairy wizard once again. He's been worshipping Lulwi for quite some time. So let's see, at the moment, he has about 3,500 piety, and he's not in any kind of bad condition or anything. He's just a little wet. So let's see what happens when I pray to Lulwi. Let's see what happens. Holy protection. Let's see what happens when I offer a prayer. Or rather, just when I pray for something with maximum piety. That should have done it. I actually somehow have 4409 out of 4400. So let's say a prayer and see what happens. So this is interesting. Looks like I summoned Lulwi directly to the Truth ground. Alright. That's a new one for me. I was expecting just a stat increase or something, but clearly I have more to learn about the gods and prayer mechanics myself. I'm gonna chalk some of this up to my unfamiliarity with Elona Plus. Alright, so as it turns out, I did this totally by accident, but if you go to the Truth ground in the month of November, and you have high enough piety, and you say a prayer, you will summon your god there. And furthermore, if your piety is still high enough while your god is hanging out at the Truth ground, you can get a 4th item from them. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Donate all these bows and crossbows and everything. Alright. Now my piety is at 4250. Let's talk to Lulwi and see what happens. Hey. Alright, so I just got this god jewel. Let's see if I can identify that with a spell while I'm here. That'd make things easy. The Tempest Collar. So I'm not really sure I get the point of this. It has an extreme protection value to it at 50, but it makes me terrible at evasion, which as a fairy is kind of my bread and butter. I'll try it out. So it turns out changing my amulet there greatly decreased my maximum piety. So since I am technically maxed out at this point, I'm gonna say another prayer and see what happens. Not much there. For whatever reason, the wiki led me to believe that if your piety is maxed out, and you pray to your god and you can't get any of the special rewards anymore, then it would just give you stat increases. Like presumably permanent stat increases. Having just tested that out here, that doesn't seem to be the case. Maybe I did something wrong. If anybody knows more about this, by all means share your findings. Because this is something that I have always been unclear about, and I've been playing the game for a pretty long time. I would love to do a follow-up on this and find out what might be going wrong here. I might have misinterpreted things. What it's looking like now is that you get a sort of constant stat increase whenever your piety is maxed out, but if you're at less than maximum piety, then your stats are not increased. This is my new theory. Again, if I'm wrong, let me know. But if I do need to clear that up anymore, I will totally follow up on that in the next video.